I'm doing great. And yourself?
Fine. You're very kind to call in. I didn't know whether I need to call in, and I left you a voicemail. I hope everything's go well, and welcome to our program.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. This morning I was featuring you from Simply Said. I played last week Charlie Brown Goes to South Africa. What a great number. And then Delta Bali Blues. That's a very spiritual number.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
So first, let me tell you something very interesting. Back in, I don't know, it was 81, 82, I was doing the late night show at the time. So I get a call from Blue Note representative. And he said, man, I'm going to send you this album, this LP. They're the Young Lions of Jazz. I said, great. So they sent it down. I think there were like 7 musicians. I think Mr. Mossman was on trumpet, and you were on sax. You remember that,
Yeah.
out of blue?
I remember OTB. Yes, out of the blue. I remember that.
Well, tell us about how you did you guys go to do sort of a audition? That's how you got the.
Well, they were like musicians from all over the states.
Yeah.
Actually, it might have been all over the world, but I know it was all over the states. And there were about 35, I think 35 musicians that auditioned. And it was really like a Art Blakey and a Jazz Messenger band. That was the concept of it. It was out of the blue. So it ended up being Ralph Peterson on drums.
Right.
Harry Pickens on piano. I think, I'm not sure who was playing bass. It was Kenny, bass player, I'm not sure. I know Bob Hurst did something. It was Bob Hurst.
On piano. Okay, yeah.
Right. And
yeah.
there's Ralph Bowens on tenor saxophone, Mike Mossman on trumpet, and myself.
Oh, yeah, that was.
And that was a great band, because actually at that time, I had been sitting in a lot with Art Blakey, and also Ralph Peterson, the drummer, had been kind of like sitting in for Blakey when he couldn't make it, or some rehearsals and things. So it was a pretty interesting band at that time.
Oh, it was. I mean, you guys were ahead of your time. I mean, I remember the selections, and I hope they reissue that. That'd be great to have. Tell us about how you got involved with Mercer Ellington earlier on.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually the Duke Ellington Orchestra, directed by Mercer Ellington.
Right.
I was actually in high school, and my band director, Bill Wiggins, who actually wrote a song called Wiggins on Seeds from the Underground.
Right.
And Marcus Belgrave, who's also the pillar of the community in Detroit. He's taught so many musicians, Jerry Allen, Bob Hurst, James Carter, just to name a few people.
Yeah.
And at that time, I was up and coming, and the second alto player in the band had disappeared. I was up and coming in Detroit, so they called me to sub, and I ended up, supposed to go there just to play a gig, and I ended up staying there for 2 years and a half, playing with the Duke Ellington Orchestra, directed by Mercer, and I actually had an opportunity to play with Cootie Williams.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Some of the originals.
Yeah, it was original. And there were actually a lot of originals in the band. There was Chuck Connors, who played trombone. He was still in the band. Some of the proteges of Johnny Hodges, like Al Minerd and Norris Turney, they were playing.
Wow.
So I got to tell you, I learned a lot. And, of course, Barry Lee Hall Jr., he was the protege of Cootie Williams. So
right.
A lot of fun.
And then how long after that you joined Miles Davis?
Oh, that was probably years, because I joined Miles probably in '87. So that means I had to put in some work to get to that one. So I went from the Ellington band to playing with Mel Lewis and the Jazz Messengers, and Pat Jones and Mel Lewis.
Wow!
I played in that band for a little while, and then ended up going out doing some music, the music of Charles Mingus
with Danny Richmond. Yeah,
leading the band.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course that led me. Well, actually, I played with. I have to back up a little bit before I got to Miles. I mean, I did that. Then I played with Freddie Hubbard.
Right.
And I played with Woody Shaw. Around that time, I was actually playing about 5 different bands. I was playing OTB.
Right.
Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers, Freddie Hubbard, Woody Shaw, his band, and I had my own band.
Oh.
And so I was working a lot during that time.
Incredible. And then, and I'll tell you, that I bet you your experience with Mel Lewis Orchestra and Danny Richmond, playing Mingus, that was a quite experience.
Well, there were so many great experiences, because there was actually, of course, playing Thad Mills music, but there was Ellington band.
Right.
Then there was also Lionel Hampton, who I played with. Then there was Frank Foster's band. Then there was Charlie Pressett's big band. There was a lot of big bands, so I got a lot of big band
exposure
at that time. Yeah.
Great. And then, I tell you, way back, and I had to order this album, used CD from Europe, and I got it because it's out of print. your sort of a collaboration with Mulgrew Miller with that beautiful album Wingspan and Soul Leo. That's it. Killer album.
Wow, that's interesting that that's out of print.
Yeah.
That one, I didn't know that was out of print.
I had to order it used from Switzerland.
Wow.
To tell you how good it is. And so sorry to hear about Mulgrew Miller passing last year.
Well, Mulgrew was my friend. You know, we go back. We actually, when I joined the story he liked to tell was that when I was in the I was playing in a band called the 251 Orchestra.
Yeah.
And the Ellington band came in, and I was playing. So when I got on the next day, they saw me playing that night in the club. And the next day I was on the bus. They were like, well, that's the same guy who was playing the alto last night. How did he end up on the bus? And so we became friends instantly. And then we ended up going to Ohio, and I ended up, they were playing Giant Steps at the sound checks. I ended up playing, and then I ended up being a roommate with Mulgrew for years. When he was after the Ellington band disbanded, and they were doing a Broadway show, Mulgrew had already left, and he was playing with Betty Carter and Woody Shaw. So
that's right. That's right.
To New York, he said, you're welcome to stay here. So I ended up staying with Mulgrew, and he was like, he was my mentor and my buddy.
Great guy,
big brother, all those things in one. But it's definitely a loss. I think about him all the time. He shared
it's
4 years of friendship.
It's interesting about, I think a month ago, I got a new release by Louis Hayes, live at the Smoke Club in New York. And guess what they're playing? They're playing Soul Leo. So, I told people, I said, well, let me play the original first, Mulgrew Miller and my man Kenny Garrett, and then we're going to play Louis Hayes' version of that. Now, one of your bands a few years back featured our favorite drummer from Shreveport, Brian Blade. Tell us about Brian. He's an incredible guy.
Oh, Brian Blade. Actually, I first met Brian playing at the Village Vanguard with Harry Connick Jr.
Wow.
And but he was playing there, but Harry couldn't do any vocals at the Vanguard.
Right.
Lorraine didn't want any vocals, so I went down there to hear him. And the next day, I invited Brian over to my house just to play. He was still in school at that time. And, he came to the house, we played a little bit, and then I was going to Japan, and I asked him if he wanted to go. I didn't want to take him out of school, and then he ended up doing recording the first CD with me, Black Hope. He's a great musician. Yeah, that's my man, Brian.
This wonderful album that you got the Grammy for, Beyond the Wall. What a lineup with, Brian Blade is on it, and Robert Hurst, and Mulgrew Miller, Bobby Hutcherson, Pharoah Sanders. That was quite a selections that you guys put together. They're very spiritual.
Well, actually at that time I had been, Pharoah and I, we were very good friends, and I was thinking about trying to find some project that, that he would be inspired, because, musicians like Bobby Hutcherson and Pharoah, they play so much music.
Sure.
When you call them, you want to try to inspire him somehow. So I called Pharoah. He said, we'd love to do it. And I called Bobby, that's a man too. Every time he's in town, if I'm around, I go and check him out. And actually, I originally had called McCoy.
Wow.
And McCoy couldn't make it at that time. So, it's like almost like a homage to McCoy in some ways. And then I said, well, if McCoy can't make it, I call him man Mulgrew. And so we ended up just getting together and just playing music. Beautiful experience. And then using the Erhu, which I had heard. I'll tell you that story quickly.
Sure.
I had gone to China for 3 weeks to try to explore. Well, I'm going to back up even further than that. I was in Ireland, and I heard that John Coltrane used to practice out of the violin book. So I'd gone into this music store, and they had this Erhu book, which is a 2-string Chinese violin.
Right.
Beautiful sound. And I was practicing out of this book. I said, well, this sounds the Chinese music, but it sounds like African music to me. The rhythm is a little different. The pentatonic scale is the same. And so I had this idea to fuse jazz and Chinese music. So I went over to Beijing for three weeks, just studying only Chinese music, going to the Peking Opera. And I remember I was walking down this alleyway in Hutong, which is like they call it the neighborhood.
Right.
And I heard this sound. I was like, man, that's a beautiful sound. And I knocked on the door, and because I was trying to figure out what that sound was. I didn't know the instrument. I said, what is that? So I knocked on the door, and it was like a storefront, because in China they have like these little storefronts about the size of like a telephone booth, really. And so I knocked on the door, and nobody answered, so I walked in, and I knocked on this guy's door. It was his bedroom, and he just waved me in. I didn't speak any Chinese. He waved me in, and just playing. It's like everyone played the erhu. And I was like, that's a beautiful sound. So I was telling my manager that I have to have that instrument on Tammami. So I got to have, that's the instrument I'm looking for.
It's beautiful.
We found a master who actually lived in New York, but we didn't know he was a master. Kind of found him. So it was, like I said, not to get too long on that one, but that was the experience of China.
Absolutely. And then, I had lunch with one of our members of River City Jazz Coalition. By the way, 8 years ago, we started this non-profitable organization in Baton Rouge right after the storm. And now we are bringing more premier jazz to Baton Rouge, and people from New Orleans now, they're coming to Baton Rouge to see our programs. And you're the highlight of our fall, and we're so excited to have you with us. And the setting is beautiful, by the way. This Manship Theater that you're going to play in, it sits about 300 capacity and ranked top 10 small best theater in U.S. And the acoustic is phenomenal. We had McCoy there about a year ago with Joe Lovano. Mm-hmm. Then we brought Ahmad Jamal and Regina Carter was there, Kenny Barron. I mean, we brought some good stuff. So we're so excited to have you with us. But anyway, I was sitting with one of the board members who were talking about you. That's Friday, as a matter of fact. I had lunch with him. And he said, man, I saw Kenny in New Orleans recently at the Dillard Chapel. I said, man. I mean, because, I saw about 7 years ago, I saw Pharaoh playing with Idris Muhammad and the band at that chapel, and it has such beautiful. So tell us about your experience playing at the Dillard University Chapel.
Well, it's that was very exciting concert for us because I had never played in New Orleans with my own band. So we were, I was just telling everybody, I said, I'm just excited just to come there because, there's so many great musicians. It's kind of hard to get there to play in New Orleans.
Right.
So we were just honored. So it was a very special concert. The people were hungry for the music, and we were excited to be there. And the same for, Baton Rouge. We were so excited just to be in New Orleans. And I have a little history there that my stepfather grew up in that area.
Is that right?
And he used to talk about Grambling. My aunt taught at Grambling.
Uh-huh.
And so, but I had never spent a lot of time there. I think I went there once. I think it was Ruston, Louisiana, and I don't even know where that is now.
Yeah, that's North Louisiana. Mm-hmm.
Right. So I have a little history there. So I'm just excited just to get there, just to play some music. And of course, a lot of my friends live there that I haven't had an opportunity to go in and visit. So I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. A couple of weeks ago, I was playing your set with Beyond the Wall and also. Simply Said and a couple of other ones. And I also follow that with Gary Bart's album Coltrane Rules. Have you?
I've heard that.
It's incredible, isn't it?
It's incredible, yeah.
It's good stuff. And I said, playing you and Gary Bart's back-to-back, people that start calling.
Right.
So we're all excited to have you Thursday at 7:30 at the Manship Theater. And God willing, I'll be on stage to welcome you.
Well, I hope that can happen. I'd love to meet you personally.
Oh, absolutely. Same here. And have a wonderful, safe trip coming down. The weather is supposed to be beautiful. I think the highs by Thursday is about 88, a little bit drier, less humid, and at night is like 66 degrees. And you're going to love the area because, you're overlooking Mississippi River and the downtown Baton Rouge is beautiful. So you're going to have a wonderful experience.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm looking forward to it. You got me excited now.
Well, Kenny, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for taking time to call us. It's always a pleasure to talk to the guys like you, and I'm so excited to have you in Baton Rouge.
Well, thank you for having me there.
All right, man. Take care.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye-bye.